So I physically pressed record. I think we're probably 6 to 12 months away from AI detecting that we're talking about the topic. And much like in music, where when the vocalist is rehearsing, or actually anyone who's performing anything, you press record while they're practicing because you often get the best takes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're a little bit away from AI detecting that and saying, oh, they're chatting some good stuff here. I'm going to press record in the background.
I'm going to listen, just like our phones are already listening to us.
Yeah, they are. They really are.
All right. Hi, buddy. Let's go.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because we saw each other in person for the first time in what is way longer than I should really admit. I think we realized it was since Christmas.
December. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's 5 months.
Yeah, it feels weird. And we're going to talk about why we were meeting and what we're up to a little bit. But it's kind of nice not having to catch up so much with you now. Actually got
I was just excited to give you a hug, which is that's making me think now. That just made me think about when people talk about, AI boyfriends and girlfriends and relationships and it seems so crazy and so far-fetched, but you and I are so connected every single week, and it's not even, we don't talk every day.
No?
But we're connected enough that the fact that 5 months went by without seeing each other, like,
Yeah.
there were things that we were missing, but we have a very successful relationship. So that's kind of like this insight into, wow, you could have a virtual relationship, like a non-physically existent relationship that is fulfilling in a lot of ways.
What you're talking about, having relationship with something that's entirely not human. You're not talking about having a relationship like a long distance, like never see, because they're two different things, right?
Yeah, I know, but I almost feel like if I knew the person physically existed and we had a way to get to each other, I would be so frustrated that that effort wasn't being made. I don't know that I could have the relationship. Versus if I was in a relationship with something that I knew was never possible to be physically connected, although I think they've got ways of tactical
Oh yeah,
steps and things
they're
like
gonna have
that.
people fucking robots, and
Okay, oh, see, I
they're
knew
already
you were
doing
gonna
it with
go there.
dolls.
I
Yeah.
knew you were gonna go there. Um, I don't know. I don't wanna spend this episode going down this path, but it's the more that I experience it, and then I can equate it to what's also happening in parallel in real life, I'm like, maybe this isn't such a crazy concept. I could kind of see that.
Yeah, my one reservation is just that the, the AI is going to be very much dependent on how it's trained and the input you give it.
Mhm.
So it's almost, I could see a world where it kind of plays into your worst instincts,
Mm,
because there's no one to keep you in check. It's like,
mm.
you think about relationships, and yes, you want to give your best to your partner, but your partner also kind of checks you when you're at your worst. Like if you get stressed about stuff or you're anxious about stuff, if
Yeah,
you have a partner that's going to kind of feed into that and make it happen even more,
yeah.
that could lead to a bit of a toxic
Agreed.
situation, right? You could become unbearable to real humans.
No, I 100% agree. I think my point is just that stuff that seems so sci-fi and so far-fetched, the more time I spend with AI, the more I realize, like, huh, I understand these possibilities.
I could totally see, and you think about, we're talking about us in particular. Like, yes, we text, like you said, it's probably a few times a week. It's not that often,
Yep.
but we're connecting with video,
Yep.
with good audio. We're sending us, like, there's a deliberate hour and change a week that we're sitting down to talk.
We have a shared goal.
Yeah, we're using technology to aid us there. I could see a world where, you're And they're almost there, like almost like holographs, and so it's like you're in the same room as each other. Maybe you can even touch the same things. You're eating the
Yeah.
same food. All of that, I could definitely see a world where technology is aiding the relationships, but I don't know if we're ever going to be able to replace the human element of it. You know?
Well, you know what? I equate it to this because Alexander's been raised vegan his whole life. People will be like, "Well, don't you miss chicken nuggets?" And I'm like, he doesn't miss anything because he never had it.
Had it. Yeah.
So when he thinks of a chicken nugget, he thinks of whatever vegan version or whatever I have created or given to him. So if you never knew human touch, right, which that's an extreme,
True.
you wouldn't know what you're missing. So you would be fulfilled through your other senses.
I
Um,
I could see a world where there's a kind of a divergence in timelines, not the right word, where you're going to have a group of people who have that human connection
mhm,
and kind of reject the advancements of technology, because we're getting to a point now. It's like, all right, how much more do we need?
right.
And I'm starting to get there too with some things. Like, yeah, I don't really want. There's some AI things you can have plugged into your browser that follows you around and keeps track of everything you've been reading, and,
Mhm,
and can give you all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want something knowing that much about me.
right.
And then they're going to have, on the flip side of that, people like you said who they never have human physical connections. They're, you know,
Or they just don't want to think or they don't want to have to make decisions. So
yeah,
if something can track them and kind of learn them and spit out that this is what you need to do, they're happy to give
yeah,
that. I think that's just evolution, right? If you talk to people in the 30s and the 40s and told them what they'd be doing now 50 years
yeah,
later, um, they'd be like, I wouldn't want that. So it's this it's an evolution. It's a deciding how much you want to invest.
yeah,
Before we hit record, even if you don't like AI or you're rejecting it, it's in your everyday life, whether you realize it or not. If you're functioning in the outside world, you
yeah.
are interacting with AI. Um, we were at a big staffing conference Sam was doing a keynote. AI was a big conversation because, of course, one of the biggest things is like, is it going to replace jobs and people are going to lose jobs? And one of the CEOs posed it, the human is still the hero
Hmm.
and the AI is just the cape. And I liked that. But then further conversation, because really when it comes to coaching, even therapy, I have personally used chat to go in and, posed a problem and put my thoughts around it and, asked for it to act as a, top performance coach and see what it would spit back. And I was curious too. Could my clients take what I do with them and just pop it into chat GPT if they had a set of prompts and get the same thing? And while value comes out from it, to me, there's still no replacing the human element and that ability to pose challenging questions and stay alongside and a lot of other things. So I do think this. I do not think that AI will replace, let's say, coaches, but
No.
I think coaches that use AI will replace and be the death of coaches that don't utilize it. And I think
Oh,
you can say that
100%.
in a
I
lot of
think it
industry.
it raises the floor for what, people's capabilities, because you could
Mhm,
have an average coach who
mhm,
can, they don't really know the information so well,
mhm,
and throw that in to ChatGPT, get back whatever information they need, and then, sell that to their clients. But
right.
it was interesting. I heard it recently on a podcast, and then someone in a Facebook group that I'm in for the coaching company I'm getting certified with or licensed with, they were saying, basically this, like, how do are we? Is there a point of us even doing this? Like, people are throwing their blood work and lab reports into ChatGPT, and it's giving them back all of the same recommendations that I have. What's the point? And it comes back to give away the information,
Mm,
sell the implementation.
mm,
Yes, it's going to give, it's going to give you the same information, and you don't think I'm not going to use it? Of course I'm going to use it. It's going to be my second brain. That's exactly how I see it. It's my second brain. It's going to store a bunch of information I don't have the need or want to keep in here all the time.
I thought
Um,
guys already had two brains.
well, now it's going to be my third, I guess. um, and keep it on track. Keep it on
Your
track.
gut, your
And
gut and your head, of course, is what
yeah,
I'm referring
yeah,
to.
exactly. So then four. Um, but the whole point is, if you can't get someone to do what you need them to do,
Yeah.
then that information is useless. So it's really going to come down to the real personal skills.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't sell, you're fucked.
Mm.
Because yes, if all your value is storing information and repeating information,
Yeah.
you're screwed.
Yep.
I think there are a lot of jobs and people who work in those kind of professions who have just stopped critically thinking, stopped working on their people skills. That
Yes.
they're going to find themselves out of action. And to your point, the people that have perfected those skills, they're the ones that are going to really succeed because they've got a whole new storage of knowledge at your fingertips.
Yeah. That critical thinking part is so
Yeah.
important because everything that I do, everything I know that you do, and even, what we may or may talk about on today's podcast, that critical thinking piece, whatever AI is spitting back out at you, one, it's only as good as what you're putting in, but
Yeah.
two, what makes me feel like where AI shouldn't be this dirty little secret, because sometimes I almost feel like it's this dirty little secret if you used AI, um, is the filter. You as the human being are still the filter of the information that's coming back. We already
Yeah.
have enough stories where it's brought back wrong information, right? Or it wasn't sourced properly. Um, so if you are not a critical thinker, if you do not have the ability to use your own brain and knowledge and experience as a filter to the information that comes back, if you're just copying and pasting and regurgitating it, that is not the successful way to use AI.
Yeah, and I take back what I said a little bit because I think you do need to have knowledge about what you're asking ChatGPT because much like I do with people, I'll often talk to it and ask it things that I know the answer to already,
Right.
and it will often give me the wrong answer or it'll give me something that it's been politically trained to say, whether that's about medical advice and things like that. It will regurgitate what it's been trained on and the information it's pulling in.
Yep.
So if you don't know that, you're going to take it verbatim. And it goes. There was this story a while back, and maybe you saw it, where it was this law office
Yes.
submitted briefs to the court with completely fictitious
Yeah.
case law that ChatGPT or whatever they were using had just made up. They didn't check the references. They didn't check. They didn't change the wording of their work, and that was just stupid.
Yep.
That's you're trying to. That's where you're replacing yourself with AI instead of using it to enhance yourself.
Yes.
And you can tell when people have posted, and it's like the double M dash. Is that what it's called? The extra, like the double size dash, the M dash, I think it's called.
Oh, I don't know.
You can always tell when it's AI because it uses
Yes.
that.
Yes.
I think it's M dash.
Yep.
And then all that you can tell when there's the certain emojis they put in. It's obvious that you
Yes.
did right. You wrote none of that. So yeah, use it. I love it for inspiration.
Yep.
But outside of that, like, it should not be the final product. It should be, you should be polishing that.
Sure.
And it's kind of like when they improved manufacturing, right? Instead of, humans sitting there and turning all the bolts and the nuts and all of that, they've got machines and robots doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's much like that, right? Like, if you know how to fix the robot, you're in good stead there instead of being the one who's trying to turn the screw.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should AI has been on our mind, and as along the lines of why we started meeting in person again, because we have a little project coming along, and it was amazing how there's a few different tangents we can go on with it, but I'll let you kind of explain what we're doing, and because you were the one who actually came up with the idea. It's funny that I came up with the idea of doing an audio book
Yes.
a while back, and we didn't do it, and I was too stupid to even think of this idea that you came up with.
You are not too
So go ahead, go
stupid.
ahead. Well, not
You're not too.
stupid, but you know what I mean.
Well, I think the reason I wanted to share this today was because life is and can be very simple, and we are just creatures of overcomplication. And I'm a big believer in furthering knowledge and growth, but I'm also a big believer in like we don't need more information. We often have enough information or all the information that we need to actually utilize it to take the next step. So when I don't know, I was driving or whatever, um, I was just thinking about all of these podcasts that we shoot and how we often kind of cycle back to similar topics. What we're passionate about, both of us, comes out, and not having a computer as a brain, and not necessarily. I'm very big picture thinking, and so are you. So when it comes to really analyzing or the thought of going through transcripts is like I feels freaking miserable to me. Like that's not how I want to spend my time. And then I was like, wait, what are we doing? Like we've got AI that we can just load all of our transcripts in and ask it to find whatever it is we're looking for. What are the themes that we talk about? What are our aha moments? What are things that, what's the voice that Paolo speaks in, that Tara speaks in? Like pulling that out, we already have all the information and we can take it from there. But the problem is that so many people like us would be stopped from doing something like writing a book, which is what we're doing, because that analysis, that part, or getting some clarity around what we want the outline to look like because we're so big picture thinking and there's so many things that are interesting to us. We were able to load in, over 1 million spoken words
Yeah.
that came from our heart, our soul, our brains. It's all us. And just ask chat to pull out the core themes.
Yeah, and
And
yeah, think about though when for the most part when people, I don't want to refer to ourselves as influencers, but as coaches, and I guess we are because we're influencing people's lives in a positive way. When they write in a book, what do? They have someone sits down and interviews them, asks them questions.
yep,
And this wasn't really any different to what we did. We just use AI to speed up the process.
yep,
And kind of what I said to you the other day, like I've always wanted to write a book. I've got so much I want to talk about, but to your point, there's so much in my head about, all right, well, I want to talk about that, but then maybe I want to put some of that stuff in there too.
yeah,
Just having something to bring it all together. And, what do we do for that whole hour? We basically
picks it
kind of
apart.
drill down on the prompts, the
Yes.
voice, and it was really, there was a lot of, clarity that came from it, just in like, oh, that's my message. I've been having a hard time putting that together
Yeah.
and, putting a bow on that. Having, 1 million words that we've said and seeing the, like you said, the common themes and everything. It's just, we wouldn't have been able to do that without AI, or we could have if we'd hired a whole team at a book
Yeah. Or
publisher or
spent two
something.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where I love AI. It just helps with efficiency.
Yeah.
Um, what else we did and what we're doing now too is to look at then we kind of went in and challenged the information. We
Yeah.
challenged what it came back with. And as we're reading through stuff and that's the beauty of our relationship where there's things I'm like, I understand where that concept came from, but that's like if you read it or I read it to you and it was something for you and I'm like, I could feel from you. I'm like, there was no like, you're like, okay, that's good. It makes sense, but it wasn't connecting. So challenging that and then having you say it in your own words and then going back in and tweaking and then working it till we're like, ooh, yeah, like you get the chills, like, yes,
Yeah.
that's me. Um, but the efficiency and the amount of time that it saved, what we were able to do in a very, in a a week's period, that sounds weird. Um, is all stuff we've been talking about, for a
Yeah.
while. So the point is utilize AI with stuff that already exists in real life for you. Um,
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm sure there's ways to like have it go into your social media. I'm sure there's all sorts of things. But
Oh
whatever it
yeah.
is that you've been kind of wanting to do, but have felt like you needed more clarity, which we talked about last time, you don't need 100% clarity to get started. Like action breeds clarity, but you do need a place to start. And the prompt might just be to chat GPT or whatever AI you're using, that this is a project that I've been wanting to work on. And here, just start dumping out your ideas. And you don't even have to type them. You can just put the mic on and just speak into it and
Yeah.
ask it to come up with 10 powerful questions to help you understand what your goal is better. Um, it's a matter of seconds, maybe a minute or two at most.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is. And I'm a little fortunate because I was very early into
Mhm.
AI because a friend of mine, he was, I believe, the first person on the go-to-market team
Mm,
at one of the big, I don't want to say which company because I want to protect his identity a little bit,
yeah,
but so I've heard about it for years before it was all kind of, so I knew what it was capable of, but
yeah,
even still, you don't realize until you really drill into the prompting, and it's just a new way of thinking.
yeah,
That's really all it is. We just got to shift our mindset because yes, we're going to ultimately be, the words in the book are ultimately going to be our words. We're going
yeah,
to change things and make sure it's in our voice, but a lot of the foundational work can be taken off of your hands. And why not take advantage of that? We both have our careers going on, why, and
yeah,
family, why would we take time away from that when we could just outsource it? There's no difference in doing it with a human or AI or something like that.
exactly.
Um,
Does it save me
and
time? Does it make me
yeah.
better?
And then the other thing I just wanted to kind of, and we will get on to what we're actually talking about, the really, the thought that came to me from this exercise was just that, obviously we talk a lot about growth mindset. We both demonstrate it a lot and very forward thinking and thinking outside the box. But like I think a lot of people fall into this trap of just thinking that what they're doing is just the thing and that's it.
Mhm.
You know, this podcast is not just for doing a podcast sake, right? It's
Mhm.
we're able to create social content out of it. So we don't have to re-record stuff on there. We're able to write a book out of it. What's going to happen with the book? We're going to start doing some other stuff, which we'll keep under wraps for now. The book is just a kind of gateway to other things. Then the podcast is also building personal brand. It's for me at least, and I'm sure for you probably feel the same. I feel so comfortable talking on a microphone and on camera now. Like
Yeah.
it's helping me perfect my public speaking, so I'm getting that from it too. And
Yes.
I'm able also to share things about my life that I don't have time to broadcast to everybody in my circle. So even my sisters listen to this just to find out what's going on in my life because I don't have the time to always tell it, to
Yeah.
tell everybody. So that it's just thinking about, all right, what am I doing at work? How can I use what I do at work to improve other areas of my life? And you can use AI to help you with that too.
Yeah.
This is what I do. This is what I enjoy for hobbies. How can I integrate the two?
Hmm.
What can I do at work as, to be creative and help me stay in flow and all of this stuff. It's thinking outside the box and having that growth mindset. Don't think that what you're doing has to be the thing and has to be your identity because it
Yeah.
doesn't.
No. And what you do is not what you do as far as a career. Your job is not like your job title is not who you are.
Yeah.
But yet, when you ask most people, hey, like, who are you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a realtor. Oh, I'm a coach. I'm a salesperson. I'm a this, I'm a that. It's, um, we're so much more. So, if you're not already using AI and it's changing all of the time, you don't have to get crazy. You don't have to go take some big course. Although, if you want to, I'm sure that would be great. But get a free account on ChatGPT and go in and start having fun with it.
Yeah.
Here's one little trick that I do because I'm very high D, right? So I'm very blunt and direct in a lot of my communication. I will, if I know I'm speaking with someone who is a different personality style than me, I'll take my email, I'll pop it into chat, and I'll say, please, make this more appealing to a high S on the disc profile. And it takes all of my key points It normally just adds a few more words and makes it, I'm like, oh, that does sound so much nicer. I don't do that all the time. Like for you, I can just send you whatever my thoughts are because you're going to
Right.
get it. But if I'm having a challenge communicating with someone, or I can't seem to really reach someone, whether they're on my team or someone that I'm working with, just by doing that 30 seconds, it's just received my message, and what I want to get out of it is so much better received by them. It becomes this win-win. So again, it's not writing it for me, but it is tweaking it, and then I'll make sure, does this still sound authentic enough to my voice?
Yeah.
And the truth is, if I really sat down and really took 10 minutes and thought about it, I would probably have come up with something very similar. But instead of 10 minutes, I took about 25 seconds.
Yeah. And just before we go on to our topic, you said there, when people say, "Oh, what do you do?" or "What are you? Who are you?" I actually love the fact that nobody knows that answer when they ask me.
Yeah.
Amy will even tell you, she's like, "I really don't actually know what you do," because it doesn't define who I am, and I do
Yeah.
a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's, I saw next ones. It was like, you've done it right when no one actually knows how you make your money.
Right.
And that because like my clients, they think that they are the biggest thing in my life, right?
Mm.
Like, because that's how I make them feel, because that's the kind
Mhm.
of service I give them. So they have no concept that I make money doing other things.
Yeah.
And then same with my other career paths, with
Yeah.
no thought, because I give my all in that time to that. And and I love when people say, "What do you do?" I just always say a bit of everything.
Yeah. Bit
I've
of
never
everything.
I've never actually answered that question and listed off everything I do.
Right.
It's just whatever I feel like saying at that time.
A little bit of this and a little bit of
Yeah.
that. Um, you're having fun, and that's
Yeah.
what matters. And what you do is you help people. And there's just different vehicles of doing it. What
Hmm.
do I do is, I end as much suffering as possible, and I come alongside struggle. And I do that in a lot of different ways. Some ways where that's very apparent, and some ways where it's not as apparent. Um, and that will lead us into continuing to talk about the 10 commitments of accountability, or an accountable leader. And we're talking about the relational commitments. And one of those is a commitment to stand by you when all hell breaks loose. And what does that mean? And before we kind of give it a definition, I would almost I want to pose the question to you and to the audience. Think of a time when all hell broke loose in your life. When something changed in an instant. We went into lockdown from COVID, or you got news about someone that you loved. You had an experience, there was a traumatic experience. Um, your world was turned upside down. You think about one of those moments, think about who you turned to. Who was that person? Or maybe it was people, but think of one of those people. And what did they do for you? And what did having that person by your side enable you to do?
Yeah. I mean, I can't. The biggest one for me was obviously getting divorced.
Mm.
I mean, it was a crazy period, and I won't go into all of the details about it. And I don't like the narrative. There was no like walking away or any any adultery or anything like that. That wasn't what it was. It was just things weren't good, and it was a split. But having said that, like looking back, I mean, I don't live with regrets, because I wouldn't be who I am now without having gone through all of that stuff.
Mm.
And I don't think I would have been able to deal with, my mum's health, Braden, and all the other stuff that's happened in the last 5, 6 years. But, looking back now, if I was ever in that same situation, which it's funny, right? If I hadn't gone through that, there's like, I would, I would in chaos now. Like I'm just like, I feel like there could be a hurricane going around me. You just see me standing there, like
Mhm.
not moved, not phased,
Mhm.
because that's just how I deal with chaos and stress now. I'm just so in the zone. But if I look back then, like I should have, like been how I am now. I should
Yeah.
have stayed strong, but there was just too many factors, and I wasn't strong enough at that time. And so, and I didn't have someone to turn to
Mm,
that,
mm,
that would have like made me strong. But then again, maybe I wasn't supposed to be.
right.
It's there's this constant balance of it, right? Like maybe that time in my life was meant to happen that way, so I could go through all the things I was going to go through,
Hmm.
come out the other side. And I don't know. I don't know. I realized I didn't really give an answer there, but like that was the time for me where um, I didn't commit to that. I didn't make that commitment.
Well, well, okay, hold on. So you didn't make that commitment to who?
Well, I guess my family, you could say, right? Like two kids and a wife, and
Hmm.
again, it wasn't like it's not like I don't like it was not a narrative of someone left or anything like that, but it's just like we split. But
Yeah.
you know, knowing what I know now and who I am now, could have put more energy into making it work. But then you say, well, could it? Maybe it wouldn't have worked because you had to become who you are for it to work.
Right. There's no way you would
But
have known.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, maybe that was just the I don't know. Because at the time, I would have said it wasn't the easy choice,
Hmm.
right? That was the hard choice. The easy choice would have been just keep everything as it was.
You needed to become who you've become in order to
Yeah,
continue forward.
yeah,
Um, and if you had just stayed and let things keep happening, you definitely wouldn't be where you are right
no,
now, and neither would the relationship. Um, so maybe that's not an example of a time where you could think of someone that stood by you when all hell broke loose. But let's flip that. Because of your experience, you as a leader, whether it's professionally or personally, if someone turns to you or let's say something, you're on a team, you're running a team, and one of your people screw up royally.
yeah.
As a leader, and you even talked about being proactive versus reactive a little bit right there. As a leader, if you only have good character when times are good, you really don't have character, right?
Oh
If
yeah,
the leader is there when the people need them the most, right? And if the leader is in chaos and acting in chaos, then everyone else is going to act in chaos. Unless there's a kind of an untitled leader there who will probably be calm.
yeah.
How would you, after going through the experience that you went through with divorce, and just for anyone that's listening new, you guys are back together and not well, you guys are together.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like the difference in the relationships then and now is just like it's unidentifiable.
Yeah. Okay, so
I
actually
mean,
let's not be hypothetical. And whatever level you're comfortable at, because I know you're always, conscious about.
well, yeah, I mean, it's more. I just don't want to say anything that would break Amy's privacy or anything.
No.
I'm an open book,
So can
but
you answer, so now when all hell breaks loose, because it's not a question if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when, right? Life is always happening. So when challenging times come up again, how are you different now from your experiences than you were in the past?
I kind of own the chaos now. Like
Mm,
the it's kind of a weird question because I just don't feel like I don't allow the chaos to occur in the first place.
okay.
Because like I said, there could be a hurricane or tornado swirling around me, but I'm in the middle, just standing my ground.
Yeah. So as
Um,
you're staying calm instead of
yeah,
being reactive.
yeah. And
Um,
I'll talk frankly, like
mhm,
and maybe I'll upset some people with this, but during COVID, I think I mentioned before, like I refused to let the schools muzzle my child. Like
mhm,
he was completely nonverbal at the time, and I knew
mhm,
there was no benefit to putting a mask on him. The
mhm,
science shows that there's no benefit to wearing a mask.
mhm,
You can debate me all you want on that, but it's the truth.
mhm.
And I had to go against all of pretty much what felt like all of society to stand up for my kid.
Yeah.
And actually, I kind of went against Amy at the time too. Um, and but I that's what I believed in my heart was right, and
Yeah.
that was chaos. It was just all swirling around, and I just said no. I'm standing my ground.
So
I'm
that's
not letting.
interesting because you stood by your child when all hell
Yeah,
was breaking loose. But you also have a commitment to Amy and your wife, and so there's like that dichotomy of like you were standing by your family when all hell was
yeah,
breaking loose, but the perception could have been that you were just standing by your son and maybe going against your wife's thoughts or society. Um, I want to keep going down that road because I want our listeners to really understand this concept of ownership. And there's two words that are going to start coming out of our mouths more, but I don't want to say them right now because I think they are so special to who you are and what's going to be coming out in the book. And I actually believe it'll probably be your own book at some point in time. But as an owner, as a leader, when all hell is breaking loose and there's no blame game when you commit to stand by someone, all hell breaks loose, it does not matter why it happened or how it happened. You take responsibility for it as the leader, um, without the blame game, without throwing someone under the bus, and taking ownership of it and then working with that person to come up with a plan to correct the path, to overcome the obstacle, to go to whoever you need to go to and say, "Hey, sorry, we screwed up. We screwed up. I screwed up." Right? Instead of like, "Oh, my team member, I fired them." Right? They're no good. They're gone. Um, because when you do that, no one trusts you.
yeah,
When you say, "Gosh, this person made one misstep," and they got thrown under the bus, they got blamed, and I'm afraid now, and that goes to this responsibility of creating a safe space. So when you can demonstrate standing by your team, personal, professional, when all hell breaks loose, that's what builds trust, that's what builds confidence, that's what enables people to take on internal and external change when they feel like, hey, if Paolo says this is what we're doing and it's a change, I know that he's going to come hell or high water, do whatever it takes to make us have success in this. And if there's a
yeah,
misstep or something doesn't go the way planned, he's not going to throw us under the bus. He's going to be right there in the trenches with us. That allows your people to be a lot more change adept instead of change adverse. That allows your people to be a lot more creative. That allows your people to be a lot more productive. Um, but you have to be tried. People have to see that. Like, you have to show up and actually do that. So, is there an area in your life where all hell is broken loose and you didn't show up as that kind of leader? And I'm not necessarily asking you, just asking the
yeah.
audience.
Yeah,
Um,
and that was some. I think that what I came away from that whole pandemic era the most disappointed about was just to me. It just felt there was a huge lack of leadership
mhm.
from everybody. Like people, and I don't judge. I know there was a lot going on around then, but like people didn't stand up for their own fucking families.
Right.
Like I don't want to like there was if uh, like no one would have stopped me doing anything with my family. If I wanted to do something, I was being stopped. I
Mhm.
would have kicked the fucking door in.
Mhm.
Like there's just to me, it was a really sad like everybody just getting in line and doing what they're told.
Yeah.
It was really and I get upset thinking about it now. Like I've almost got tears in my eyes thinking about it. Like there was just
Mm.
I was disappointed by a lot of people. Um,
Fear is a very
just
powerful weapon.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
ultimately people want to make the right decisions. And we've talked about this before, when it came to vaccinations. People, it's a lot of responsibility to lead. Everyone
yeah,
has the ability to be a leader, but a lot of people do not want that responsibility. And when you are forced in a situation where you have to either step forward or fall in line, that's a big test.
Yeah.
Because you could lead the people down the wrong path, and then you're responsible for whatever has been created. Or you could lead people down the right path. And I don't want to use the word be the savior, but it's it's great to be a leader when you make the right decisions and everyone benefits in a positive way. What
Yeah.
challenges you as a leader is having to take that risk, and leaders do take more risk, and it doesn't go the way that you thought or the way that you
Yeah.
planned. And then being able to own that, but not beat yourself up over it. And that comes from intention and the thought process that you're putting into things. Are you doing it selfishly, or are you doing it for the people that you care about? It's not always going to be the right decision, but that's the risk that a leader takes on.
Yeah, and when there is chaos, you're gonna get caught in a whirlwind of blame, and people will try and tear you down, and because I think fear does drive people to not like leaders in a lot of ways, right?
Hmm.
It's like they project their fear of taking that leadership onto the person who's actually trying to lead.
Right.
And I think that's where you actually see a lot of hatred for political figures as well. Now, a lot of them are scumbags and whatnot, but there are people who are really trying to do the right thing, and they get completely destroyed by the media and by public perception because people are projecting their fears and their insecurities onto those people who are willing to put themselves on the
Right.
front line. I saw that a lot. I mean, again, during COVID, like a lot of really smart fucking doctors who were, threatened to lose their license, have their license revoked
Yeah.
just for standing up and saying, I don't think we should be doing this, guys.
Right.
You know? Um, but yeah, I didn't want to make this about COVID, but I think that was a real, talk about chaos. That was the biggest chaos that the world had ever seen, right?
Right.
At least in our lifetime.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, there weren't enough leaders.
And it's still not gone, right? I mean, COVID still shows up. I just saw
Yeah.
something come through with RFK and COVID, and I didn't look at the article, but
Oh, they took it's off the CDC recommendation now, the vaccine for
okay.
kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so like we said, there's going to be chaotic times, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be things that happen. This is not about going through life without any challenges. This is about how are you showing up? What is your true character? What are your core values? What do you believe, and how are you leading from that? And even if you're not at the forefront with the mic and the loud person, even your decision to not make a decision is still a decision.
Yeah.
So you can never throw your hands up and go, I'm neutral. There is no neutral.
Yeah.
There's no neutral. You're either working towards something or you're working against something. And if you think, well, I'm just not making a decision, that's a decision in itself. So, and that goes to whatever you allow in your space, you condone. So just because you're not saying something, if you're allowing it around you, you are condoning
Yeah.
it.
And I tell you, I'll give an example about what I mean by lack of leaders. And like, it's one thing if you disagree with, like my stance on the masks and everything like that, and
Hmm.
I had disagreements with my own family about it. That's fine. Stand on it.
Hmm.
But the amount of people that would, in public, they'd be wearing their mask, and then as soon as like they were downstairs in the office, take the mask off and have a
Right.
chat, this close to your face. And it's like, well, what do you actually believe in here? What do you stand for?
Right.
Because right now, all I'm seeing is just you're playing pretend,
Right.
and no one. And to your point, like no one's going to go to battle with you.
Well, okay. So let's take what you just said right there, and let's undress this as far down as possible. People are always watching. People are watching what your words are, what your actions are. Do they align? We talked about our word is our bond last week. When someone goes to battle with you, when someone goes to war with you, when someone, this is one of the most beautiful ways to see it. When someone speaks up for you in rooms that you aren't in, when you're
Yeah,
not in the room and that person's got your back, I just got chills everywhere. Those are the relationships that are built on this trust of like, this person has got my back. This person is going to stand by me, even if I make a wrong step, right? They might help me fix it, or they might tell me I need to fix it. But when you stand by someone, when their world is in chaos, maybe your world isn't in chaos. Maybe it's someone just, when you got a phone call from me, and I don't want to rehash that right now, but you have those people. Or I hope you do. I hope everyone that's listening has at least one person that if they're in one of their darkest moments, they could pick up the phone and call, and they know that that person is gonna have them. Whatever it is, whether it's coming to by your side, whether it's sitting on the phone and listening to you, whether it's talking you through something, that no matter what it is, there is someone that's gonna be shoulder to shoulder with you, whether they're going through something similar or not. And those are the relationships in your personal life that get you through the hard, challenging times because you've built that together. And in your work, if you have a team of people and you as the leader, and they know that you are going to do whatever you can to make sure that you don't let them down, that you don't send them to the fire alone. We might be running to the fire, but we're doing it together. That creates these relationships and this loyalty and commitment where they're never going to leave you.
Yeah.
Because they might get more money somewhere else, they might get what, but they don't know what kind of leader they're gonna get. Are they gonna get, like, I remember Sam tells a story, this girl, her brother, I think, had committed suicide, um, and her boss, on the way out, she was gonna take, like, an 8 or 9-hour car ride to have to get there, and instead of saying, "Hey, are you okay to drive? Hey, can I put you on a plane? Hey, can we get you a car service?" Something like that. As she was walking out, says, "I know there's a lot going on, but, when do you think you'll be back?" Now, it's a fair question. I understand the question tactically, but as the leader, that's the person, like, that's what they're thinking about. Like, that's not, I have no loyalty to that person.
Yeah.
Like, um, I think if we can take from this today is just think about when all hell broke loose, who did you have around you? Who did you call? Who came alongside you? What did they do? How did that make you feel? How's your relationship with them right now? And then who are you that person for?
Yeah.
Who has come to you where you've stepped up and stood by them when all hell broke loose? And maybe you didn't step up and stand by them, and what would you do differently next time? When the opportunity presents itself again, and it most likely will. How will you be different? Is there anyone in your life right now that you should be checking in on, that you should be showing up for to
Yeah,
be
and I
that
think
person?
it's important to, like, you don't have to be, there can be many leaders in that group, right? Like, how you show up is also as important as if you show up.
Yes.
Like, maybe you're the brains of the group, right? You're the
Mhm.
one who's going to figure out the solution. Maybe you're
Mhm.
not going to be the one who implements it.
Mhm.
Then you might be the one, you just show up. You're just a body. You're
Yeah.
there to be the physical, um, to be the helping move stuff. Or if you're going into a fight, you're the one who's taking the biggest guy out.
Yeah.
Um, or maybe you're the person who's there. Just you're the one with all the EQ. You're going to make sure everybody's good. You're going
Yeah.
to give out all your hugs.
Yeah.
Maybe you're the one who's going to handle supplies. You're going to make sure everyone's got food and drink. There's all kinds of roles you can play when there's chaos.
Yes.
It's not just about being, the alpha, show up and I'm the big
Take
dog.
over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point. No, it's often not about taking over. It is how you're leading and how you're showing up. And yeah, what role can you play? What part of that can you lean into where you have the most strength? Um, but as a leader,
Yeah, you
you,
own that role.
you
And then
own
if
that
you want to
role.
delegate to someone else, all right, you go to that store and get this for her and
Yep.
blah blah blah.
Yep. And as a leader too, it's also your responsibility to know what's going on in your people's lives. because all hell could be breaking loose for them, but you don't actually know it. You're just seeing it in maybe
Yeah.
poor production or poor performance. And instead of like going to a performance review, going to them and saying, hey, it seems like something's been off lately. Like, is there something going on? But if you haven't built rapport and if they don't trust you and if you haven't created a safe environment and if they don't know that you're going to stand by them even when they're having challenges, you're never going to get the answer and you're never
Yeah.
going to have the relationship and you're never going to have the productivity and you're never going to have the team that you want.
Yeah. Now, I do want to just go back to what I was saying earlier in terms of, at least in my life, I don't want it to appear like I'm some tough guy and the chaos doesn't affect me. Because it does. Like, there are things that are emotionally
Just
hard for me that are happening in my life.
or
But
logging into your computer.
I have, yeah, don't get me started on that. But just when you have that, when you have the clarity on like where exactly you need to be, what you need to be doing, then the chaos, you don't get caught up in the chaos. Yes, it can affect you. It can play on your mind. There are family dynamics that upset you and things like that. But when you're on a mission, it's impossible to get swept off your feet with the chaos.
Yeah.
Because you just have to, you keep reminding us, and it's a lot of work. It's why we do all the things we talk about, the journaling and all of that stuff, because it really helps you stay grounded.
It's the
So,
check-in. It's the
yeah,
reminder. It's the consistent, like, okay, yes, this is why I'm doing this. It's the keeping it simple.
yeah, yeah,
That's how you get the clarity, the consistently checking in, the consistently taking those small action steps.
yeah.
All right. We're at time, my friend.
Yes, we are. That was a longer one today.
So I know that you've got my back, and I want to venture to say that I've got your back.
And we have your backs.
We do.
But that goes to my point. Like, maybe there's one person that listens to this and they're having a shit day and they get picked up by it. Like, that's our playing our part. We're standing up for our people.
And we read your comments. Some are better than
Yeah.
others. But reach out. Like, this is why we're doing this. We're doing this for you. If you're the one person that this brought value to today, like, let us know, because that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And that's why we're going to continue to grow and ripple effect and keep putting it out there. Because we are becoming better people in the process, and we can only become better if we are helping others and helping to develop others and bring people up and make this world just a more loving place to operate, and a place where it's okay to not have guilt and blame, and it's okay to use AI to save some time and become better and smarter and more efficient and try new things. And if we fail, we fail. And we pick each other up and we dust each other off and we keep going forward. And when we win, we celebrate and we celebrate each other. And that's the world that I want to live in. That's the world that I want to keep creating. And I think the same for you. Amen. All right, friends. Until next time. Bye for now.